Google Sheets recently released the ability to create a timeline right in the sheet. Now, the moment this is only available for education and business accounts, you probably won't see this feature in your personal account. So to get started, the first thing you need to have is a column for the date, so a start date. It's important that this column is formatted for dates. So if you're not sure how to do that, simply select the column, go up to Format, Numbers, and you want to make sure that it's set to date. Okay, that's an important tip. The next column, you can have an end date. This is an optional column. If your event spanned a period of time, you might have a start and end date, or if it's just one single thing, it might not. So this end date column is optional. Your next column needs to be a title. The timeline refers to this as the card title. So you'll need to have a title for your event. Next column is optional. This is the card detail. This is any details that surround your event that you'd like to include. And then you're also able to have a color for the event if you would like. Again, this is an optional one. To get a color, simply select the cell and you'll go up here to fill and you can choose what color you would like. Once you've done that, you're ready to go. So again, the start date and the title are the two main things you have to have. So we're going to select the columns that we'll be using in the timeline. So I'm selecting A through E. I go up to the Insert menu and scroll down to Timeline. So now it's telling me it's going to create the timeline. I need at least one data column with a date column, and it's telling me that I'm doing it with this sheet, A through E. Click OK. And here we go. So a couple things to notice over here in the settings. It does say I have 987 errors. That's because I selected the entire column, so all 1,000 rows. Had I only selected the exact part that I used, I wouldn't have any errors. However, by selecting the entire column, what that allows me to do is if I add additional events later, it'll add them automatically to the timeline. So just keep that in mind. So notice here's the start date, and it's corresponding to the start date column. End date is corresponding to that column. The card title again. So if this was incorrect, let's say I didn't want that to be the column for the card title, I could go back and I could choose a different column. And then the optional ones, color, like we have, card detail. So now I'm going to tell it this is where the card detail comes from. And I could have also grouped my events. So let's close out of the settings and see what it looks like. All right, so here we have 1994 and it shows my first event. Notice if I click on that event, it'll open a little side window with more information, start and end date, the title, the details, okay? From here, I could also edit that if I wanted to. Now, as I scroll across my timeline, you'll see the different events. Okay, and here, this was the one where I did have a start and an end date, and you can see what that will look like. You can change what it looks like. Right now I have it set with a multi-year view. You can make it more condensed. So there's a lot of different options, but this is a really fun feature. I think that it's going to be something that will be really useful for a lot of people. One final thing to note, you can publish this to the web. Simply go to File, Share, and Publish to Web. That will give you a link so that somebody can simply view a published version of this timeline.